the top 12 center to NHL.com. Colton Parayko, who has been honestly the best defensive player on this team
Oh,
for a while, without a question. And
they're
then
all rated too.
it's really something special. And you know what? I need to tell you something that I heard that was a little crazy. I do crossovers for some of the other shows on this podcasting network.
Yeah. No, yep.
And somebody said, I am concerned about the Blues this season because of Jordan Binnington not being emotional and reactionary. And I don't think he's as good as he used to be. So I broke down the stats still. Of course I did. I talked about his 900% save percentage. I don't get the forced Binnington hate. And it's forced because he is such a good goalie. He is lights out in between the pipes. And then you have these people that are just constantly trying to bash a guy that's better in net than a guy like Connor Hellebuck and I'm talking like the playoffs. But the point is that if he is your starting goalie for Team Canada, every single person that has bashed Jordan Binnington owes him an apology. Or us. We'll take it for Binnington.
You
Because I don't
know,
think he listens.
I think no. If he does, Benner, you're the man. For the lack of better words, I would have something else to say, but we'll keep it PG. Anyway,
I'm like, if you get hurt, you can take any one of my body parts to
yeah,
save you.
right. No,
Yeah.
but I think it's not to get too crazy here. I think it's a little bit of a societal thing almost
Mm-hmm.
with Bennington hate. Like he's not. He doesn't just stay in his lane and do his own thing. And sure, maybe he was a little arrogant in 19, and maybe he was a little out of pocket sometimes. But you know what? Some of those Blues teams were motionless at times, and there was never really a guy that was doing the things. And Bennington was kind of the leader of those teams, and he was kind of the heart and soul. And it's damn near impossible to play that role as a goalie. And that dates back to Berube saying that. Like
Yeah.
he tried to calm him down, but he's got fire. He wants to win. He's trying to motivate his team. I mean, he tried to fight former Blue Kyle Clifford at one point in time, if you remember that, all the way
Yeah.
back when Clifford was still on the, I think, Kings or something. But
Didn't he try to
yeah,
fight Marc-Andre Fleury too, like a goalie on goalie, and then the ref stopped it?
you know, that would have been
That would have been so cool.
Bennington's pretty long. You never know what he's got to him, but
Like, and this is the thing about Jordan Binnington is that I have spoken to him a couple times, and it's been really cool because I'm like, oh my god, it's Jordan Binnington. Um, but he is such a calm person, like in the
hmm,
locker room for my interactions, and even when I watch a lot of videos, the behind the scenes things that the Blues put out, or even just the pressers, and he's so calm. And I think that one thing about him, and I know that this might be a little bit of a crazy take, but he got married, I believe it was last off season. His wife, by the way, was on Degrassi, which was really cool.
yes,
Imogen,
yes,
insane crossover. But anyways, I think that once maybe it could also be an age thing. He's in his 30s now. Maybe he just matured out a little bit. He learned how to deal with some of those emotions. But I still saw Binnington show emotion in net. Like it's not like he's emotionless or not passionate. It's there, but he's able to control it.
yeah. I mean, dating back to what you said originally, like someone on a crossover told you that they're concerned about Bennington. I mean, that's baseless. I'm sorry, respectfully to whoever
It
said
is
that.
baseless.
I think that's a
It's
very
stupid.
baseless thing to say. At the end of the day, the main problem with Bennington, and fun fact, if you look up goalie penalty minutes over the last 10 years, Bennington has the most by like an insanely large margin. It's
Yeah, it's
actually
a
a
lot.
hilarious thing.
It's a
Um,
lot.
so that's funny, a little tidbit. But I mean, you just can't keep doing it if you're Bennington because you're just going to draw more and more and more and more, late sticks and late slashes and people messing with you and getting iced all the time. And that's the kind of thing I think Berube kind of started telling him, like, okay, I love what you're doing. It is tough and it's not common, but we do love it. But here's what's going to happen if you keep doing it. And Doug Armstrong has said this too, very blunt. He said, this Binnington is putting himself in a tough spot and drawing attention to himself, and the refs aren't going to give him any help if he's doing it over and over. And so I think in a way he was forced to kind of calm down. And I believe he's still 2019 Binnington. I mean, we're looking at a guy
Yeah.
who was what 28 before he played in the NHL and was almost like out of the NHL and pretty much told I don't remember who it was. It was a pro scout, a former player told him like, "Hey, I'm ready for my chance. Like, call me up." And then they were like, "No, you're going down." And he was like, "No, I'm not." Funny story. I can't quote exactly where it's from. I'll have to find it for you sometime. But yeah, Binnington at one point in time was told, "You're going back down," and he said, "No, I'm not. I'm playing."
I
And
remember that.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
ends up winning a cup that year. So I mean, we're talking about a guy who has been right on the brink of career over. So what does he really have to lose? You know, like he's
Nothing.
been very close to losing his career, and we see what he's done since then. So I mean, God bless JB 50, man. Like let's ride for a few more years, buddy.
And there's only been one real season where he didn't have over 900 save percentage, and that was 22-23 with 894. But everything else since he's been playing up here, I'm not going to count 2015-16 because I was like one game. So, like, I don't really care about that. But starting in 2018-19, I mean, he's had over 900 in his save percentages. So it's like when people say things like that, it's so baseless and it doesn't take a lot of effort to look up a statistic. And you know what? I went as far, I did an episode the other day. I was going over numbers of, who was the best to wear certain numbers. I didn't do all the numbers, but, I just chose a couple. And I said, I think number 50 is going to be retired for the Blues because I think personally, Jordan Binnington is a Hall of Famer. And I know that might sound crazy to say, but I mean, if he continues, I'm not going to say right now if his career ended, he would be. But if he continues to play how he's playing, to maybe, and again, I want USA to win because I'm, from the USA, but let's go say Canada wins the Olympics. And let's go say, you know what? Let's go say the Blues get another cup. Why wouldn't he be a Hall of Famer?
I mean, you were talking about chills earlier when we were talking about Thomas, and when you said that, I instantly like before you finish your sentence, I instantly went back to Game 7 in Boston, and it's just like if you go back and watch that game, and think of some of the saves that guy made in the first period, and even early in the second period, like it's just asinine. It never made any sense how he did some of that, and Boston was so good at the time, and
Oh, good.
obviously, playing in the cup and they had an insane star powered offense and like, God, it was just, it was like, are we seeing this? Is this real? Like some of the point blank best saves I've ever seen in big games. Like, yeah, Jake Allen made some crazy saves, with the stick or whatever in the regular season, but like, you're talking about a game 7 game saver, like, and then your team just what do you have to lose after that if you're the forwards and the defense in front of him? You have nothing to lose. You have a goalie who effectively can't be beaten behind you. That's what it feels like. And I will go down and tell you straight up that I feel like the Conn Smythe that year was like O'Reilly, like not far behind in Binnington.
Yeah.
It could have went either way. Like Binnington was insane in that series and in the playoffs altogether. Like Game 7 in St. Louis versus the Stars, just nuts, insane.
32 saves, by the way, in that game 7. And, it's funny. They have it on YouTube, actually. The NHL does. If you ever want to watch it, you can. Because I believe the season after that's when bubble hockey happened.
Oh,
So we didn't, yeah. So we didn't have necessarily playoffs during playoff time. So instead, they just posted the Blues' run, which I was fine with because, it gave me something to watch. And I'm telling you, I watch that game 7 all the time. And every single time I cry. I cry because it was one of the most beautiful wins because it really did show how excellent Binnington was. It showed like Pat Maroon, dude. Like the one season he comes here, hometown legend Pat Maroon, and O'Reilly watching him and Petra, like all of our guys, and we see a very young Robert Thomas and dude, like I can't tell you how
DP
much
57, never forget.
no, I can go on and on. Bozak, like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to reminisce completely, but it is one of those things where I think that if there was one game that showed you what this team is, it was that game 7. And if somebody said to me, Haley, describe the St. Louis Blues, I would say watch Game 7 Stanley Cup Finals against Boston, and, man, I really thought I thought they were gonna win it at home, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh, I
Um
was there. I was downtown. I
Oh,
was
wait.
ready for yeah.
So my one, friend, he actually went down to St. Louis thinking that they were gonna win it, and he's like, "I have to go to Boston," because like, he had to then see it. But, it's one of those things where I crave that again, and maybe I was a little bit delusional last season, but when the Blues got to the playoffs, I just thought the magic's gonna happen again. I mean, they had that insane 12-game win streak, and when Binnington's in net, I feel like there's so much hope. And I know that sounds a little silly because I understand that that Blues team that we saw win the cup had a lot of veteran talent, like, they had a lot of developed
The
players.
defense was
Oh, the defense! Whew, it was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Strong, not what we have right now with Justin Foley.
Parayko, Pietrangelo, Bouwmeester. I mean, those three alone are
Ugh.
like
Now I'm upset because I'm like, "Okay, cool. We went from that to this," but, I you if you have a player like a Jordan Binnington on your team, you have to always be a playoff contending team. But I like what Braden Shen said at the end of the season pressers. Somebody actually said, "Hey, do you think you guys are a playoff contending team for next season?" And Shenner said, "We're a playoff contending team when we make it to the playoffs." And I thought that was such an interesting comment because you just got eliminated in a heartbreaking game 7. And instead of being like, "Yeah, let's go ride and run this back," you're like, "Wait, let's get there first." But they need to be consistent, Dill. They can't do
so
this where they're losing to San bleeping Jose.
yeah, and for any San Jose fans in the
I hate you
comments,
all.
yeah. Congrats on Celebrini and still dumpster. Sorry. I'll go
And
back.
pass.
Yeah.
That usually
Yeah.
sends
I
them
was
into
at
a
that game
spiral.
too. I was
Oh,
at that
really?
game too. Yeah,
What was
it was
that like,
ugly.
being there in
That was
person?
like an 8:30 Central start.
Yeah.
It was ugly in the stands, and at like 11 p.m. after overtime and the hand pass, and Braden Shen comes back on the ice and chucks his stick against the wall, like just just crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I just think, to kind of try and put a bow on this crazy conversation that really had no structure. I will tell you that I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for the present. Robert Thomas is a future captain. We're about to see some ascension. Snuggerud is here. This team is clearly a contender for, if not playoff, if not the cup, definitely a deep playoff run this year. And we have some fan favorites that are still around. Shen, uh, Parayko, and Binnington, who are going to be around for at least the instant time. But yeah, I mean, there's just a lot to be happy about if you're a Blues fan. We kind of made it through the woods. We had a tough few seasons, and eventually you have to rebuild. And thank God for Doug Armstrong, and the rebuild was good. And we have one more year with Doug, and then it's Alex Steen, who is one of my favorite Blues ever.
So I wanted to ask you about that. We have about like 10 more minutes, if that's okay.
Yeah,
So
of
with
course.
Steen and the transition to him, what's your confidence level? Because we know how he is player wise, but I know we've seen glimpses of him in, the front office, but we haven't necessarily seen a whole lot since it really has been Doug still in the lead.
My confidence. The one thing that I kind of think could be a little negative there is Doug Armstrong is definitely actually, I will say Doug Armstrong is the most respected general manager in hockey. He's the general manager for Team Canada. It doesn't get higher than that, right? In terms of
Yep.
respect. Doug Armstrong rarely loses trades. Like, let's just talk the Mayu trade. Whenever it's announced, he's getting slammed online. Talk to me in game 45 of the season, and let's see what we're looking at. Okay, or even game 40 next season, because it does take. Doug Armstrong has his hand on the pulse. He has a pulse for what's going on. NHL defensemen need to play a lot of games, and that's another thing I've said before you can really tell what you got with them. But yeah, I mean, my confidence is pretty high with Steen. I mean, we're not losing the pro scouts; those are still going to be Armstrong's pro scouts. clearly the other scouts, the younger junior scouts for whatever they're called, are still insane. I mean, with the draft pick from this season, for some
Justin
reason,
Carbonneau.
yeah, Carbo, that guy's just, and we're probably going to see him this year.
Yeah,
Like, I would not be shocked if that guy plays 6 or 7 games in the NHL this season.
he
And
will.
I think that's going to happen. To be honest with you, just because, like, why not? Right?
He
You
should.
don't have really anything to lose,
He's
and
so good.
we know he's going to be insane in camp. We know he's going to compete. He's a freak, like, mentally. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty confident with Steen. It's pretty much going to be a Swedish Doug Armstrong. Is kind of the way I think it's going to happen. Steen is obviously going to eventually be his own general manager, but I think there's a reason why Steen has been sitting. If you every time they went to Armstrong in the stands, it was Steener right next to him, and you think they haven't been talking about the future. Doug Armstrong always said, I've heard him say this 10, 15 times. My goal is to leave the team in a better place than I found it. I've heard him say that so many times, and I guarantee you he's not going to salvage anything. He's looking out for the future of the franchise, and I don't know. I'm just grateful for Doug and can't wait to see what Steen has in store.
I'm a little upset though, in all honesty, not having Doug as our GM because I feel like that's all I've known. And I feel like that's what a lot of Blues fans have known. I mean, Doug, he's he's so special, and sometimes it's hard to articulate and put into words. I know I do a podcast, but it's hard because this was the man that constructed a Stanley Cup winning team, and he made a promise to us, and he said that he was going to bring a cup to St. Louis, and he did. And I understand that it's time to say goodbye. If it's a player, it's like hang up the skates. So I guess I can say hang up the GM hat, but he's always going to be such a huge part of this organization, and it's kind of like an end of an era in a way. And I
Since
feel like
2008.
yeah, yeah, he's the longest tenured general manager that the Blues have ever had. And like that's so crazy to me. And I'm so excited for Steen. I think Steener deserved this. It's just more of an end of an era, and a Blues team without Dougie A, it just seems foreign to me. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, even last year, Armstrong had his Canadian fingerprints all over the team's success. Broberg and Holloway, first two guys I think of. Even last season, like those two guys were such a huge part of the success last year,
Mhm.
obviously. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's for the St. Louis faithful, and I know you'll probably feel this a little bit too, but it's kind of like when Yachty left the Cardinals. Um, it's just such a backbone that you've had for so long, and then you can't help but kind of your mind strays a little bit when you think about life without it. But all good things come to an end eventually, and I wish Doug Armstrong all the best. Like, truthfully, even though it's been a long time since it's happened, it's kind of crazy. It's 2025 now. The Cup was 6 years ago, but you know, it's still a fairy tale that the Blues won that. I mean, I remember going to sleep just begging, wanting the Blues to win so bad, and they got it done in 19. And there's those best moments. I mean, insane.
It's like funny because I think back to that cup run and like I'm not trying to get emotional, but it's like it was so special. Everything about it. And I thank Doug Armstrong. Like, I mean, there's no better GM in the National Hockey League than Doug Armstrong, and I truly do believe that. Listen, I might be biased in my opinion because the way I compare Doug to everybody else is a little bit different. Because obviously I'm a Blues fan, so I don't really look at other teams as GMs and say, oh well, this is how they are with the fan base. But Doug is just overall such a good person. And sometimes, yeah, there's things that are a little bit questionable that he does, and we kind of, we're puzzled by it. But again, the double offer sheets, and I want to touch on that really fast. That is something that just shows you the excellence and experience that Armstrong has had being a general manager and the balls, quite honestly, to do something like that. We haven't seen that in such a long time. And you know, I, I have a really difficult time when it comes to the idea of certain players not being on the Blues. And I've dealt with, losing most of our cup winning team. And it sucks. Like Jaden Schwartz, that was a really difficult one for me. I do want to say, though, that when Doug does leave, and I know Steiner, I know that he won the cup with us, obviously, but when Doug does leave, it feels like that team itself will be gone. And I know Binnington will still be here. I know, Robert Thomas, and I know well, hopefully Shen, but um, it just feels like that era is gone.
But going back to what I said 15 minutes ago now, and we haven't talked a lot about some of these up and comers, Stenberg, Pekarek, Adam Jurasek, Carbo. This is legitimately, there is no way that this team doesn't at least go to another Stanley Cup in the next 4 years. The prospect pool that they have coming up is outrageous, and the pro scouting is just getting better every year. I mean, it is going to be very sad, and yes, the 19, like you said, the 19 team is kind of, gone to the woodshed, for lack of better words. But
It's dead.
man, it's it's going to be Thomas's team eventually. You're going to see Robert Thomas wearing the C. Like even Parayko, you got to think, how many more years does Parayko play in St. Louis?
Oh, I don't want to think about that. I
It's
know. I know.
and I have been thinking about these prospects and what this team is going to look like, and not just this year, but man, like next year, the year after. That is when you're walking around telling people, yes, this is what we were talking about 2 years ago. We paid our dues. Like this is, I don't know. I'm very high on some of these prospects coming up. I think even Hofer, like when Binnington's gone, that guy is a legit goaltender. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It feels like the organization is in a really, really, really good spot, regardless of how bad they went out last year, which I remember talking to you that night in the DMs, and it was a rough night. But
When I had my crash out and I went on a 45-minute live stream and I just stood up I was staring at the camera and I just was like, I don't know, I don't want to be alone.
I know. And then I remember seeing, like, and this is kind of off topic. I remember seeing a Edmonton fan
Oh,
uh, shitting on Broberg and Holloway for being eliminated that night, and I was like, dude, I said some things to the guy. I was like, dude, Holloway didn't even play in this series. You're
yeah.
crying. You're
Because
crying
they're
about guys.
stupid.
Their
Edmonton
team
fans
could
are
have signed him.
scumbags.
At the end of the day, there is 0% chance. Maybe if you don't try to replace Dylan Holloway with Jeff Skinner, and then you roll out there without Broberg in the playoffs, who was your best defender the prior season, Edmonton probably wins the cup. Let's be for
Yeah.
real.
Yeah,
Like,
it is true.
so those two guys got the last laugh in the end, and you know, again, I'm just super excited for the current state of the team, and literally foaming out of my mouth to see Blues hockey on my TV. And like, oh, it's just, I'm so stoked. NFL, like next Friday night or next Thursday night.
Thursday.
So I mean, we're back. I'm a big
We're
winter
back.
sports guy. We're so back. And yeah, the Cardinals are a little tough right now, but the Blues are gonna come back and save St. Louis, and I can't wait.
It's great. Dylan, we always have such great conversations. And for those that are still watching, this is a two-parter. So you can check out part one on the channel at Locked On Blues. Because Dylan and it's funny, we have such good conversation. And I feel like it's injustice to just condense it all into one episode when there's just so much to talk about. And we want to make sure we give every single point that we bring up enough space. Um, this episode, honestly, was probably one of my favorites because I ended up getting emotional talking about the cup, which I did not expect to do tonight. So when I am done recording this, I'm going to actually go back and watch some highlights. Whenever I see the trophy presentation, by the way, that's when the waterworks come out. Like it's, oh man, it's insane. And like I listen, Andy Cohen was on the ice, and like that's the type of celebrity that I appreciate because you know what? Pam from The Office, Jenna Fisher, and Andy Cohen, thank you for actually being celebrities who have always been on the Blues side.
Ambassadors.
There's so many bandwagons, whatever. I'm not going to get into that now. Point is that we have a really good team ahead, and the future is exciting. And sometimes saying goodbye and letting go of things of the past, um, it's hard. But if you just stay in the past for too long, you're never going to get back to winning again. So the way I look at this still is we have a new note for a reason, and it's because there is a
Oh,
new
jerseys.
era of
The white
blue.
jersey. Oh my
Wait,
god.
look at my knockoff. That's really bad. I
It's
got it.
still
No, I
it's
got it
still
for my
really pretty. I'm telling you right now, that white road uniform is gonna have my wires crossing this year when they wear that for the first time.
September 3rd is when these sweaters go on pre-sale. Not even just sale, pre-sale. I
Oh,
I'm so mad. I bought the hat right when it first got released, and the hat it's in my room. I love it. It's great. But why couldn't they release the sweaters? I don't want a t-shirt. I don't want a sweatshirt. I want a bleeping Robert Thomas sweater that one day I can get a C on. But you know what I mean? Like, and I know it's gonna be like 200, it's gonna be like 230. It's gonna be so
at
expensive.
least. Yep. And you're
So
probably looking at a 6-month wait to get it, just so you
yeah.
know.
So I mean, honestly, it might make more financial sense for me to fly to St. Louis and go to the pro shop instead.
I will go and get it for you from the pro shop if you need me to.
Thank you.
For real, for real. And on that topic, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but one day I was returning a Christmas gift at the pro shop at like
Yeah.
2 p.m. before a Blues game, and my dad and I met John Kelly in there. And I just
You
wanted to
met
throw
John
that.
Kelly.
I've met John Kelly twice and Pang one time before a game.
You met
Um,
Panger.
yeah, Panger. I got a photo with Panger and JK. I'm like 6'4" and Pang is, really short. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a funny photo. But I mean, yeah, I wanted to throw that out there. Just let you know. I thought you'd think that's cool. And
I've only
you've
met
met,
Jamie Rivers.
well, that
I know,
guy rocks too.
I was jokingly saying that, yeah.
That guy rocks too. But last thing I'll say is I'm probably gonna go to opening night. So perhaps I can, if you want, perhaps I can jump on from the game
Oh,
pregame or
that'd be
something
let's
outside of
do
the
it.
stadium.
That'd be sick. You know what's funny, though? I was actually looking at games to go to because there's a lot of back-to-backs this year because of the Olympics, and I'm telling you, I know I said this last season, it just didn't work out because we didn't have a lot of back-to-backs. You know why I wanna go to a back-to-back? Because I think personally, if I'm flying out to St. Louis, which I have been to St. Louis before, um, obviously, I just when I crazy stories, but yeah, whatever. I've watched like the Blues at the bars, but they were always on the road, and I'm like, oh, whatever. Anyways, I want to just be able to have like a weekend, or even if it's like a weekday, where I can go to a game, I can come back home, go out, go, restaurants, whatever, and then do the same thing again the next day. I think that when you travel to see your team play, like I've seen the Blues play on the road, obviously, but when you travel to see your team play and it's only one game, it's different for football, it's different for other sports. But when it comes to hockey, if there is an opportunity where I can see back to back Blues games, hell yeah, I'm going to do it. Like, that would be stupid for me not to.
If you get out here early enough, I highly recommend a 12 o'clock Cardinal game on a Saturday and then a
Ooh,
7 p.m. Blues game after that. That is like the
that's
St.
a good
Louis
double header.
trifecta there. Throw in some T-Ravs and you're like full blown St. Louis
Ooh,
after that.
I love it. It's fun. Like, I have to, off camera, one, I'll message you all about my St. Louis adventures, but I've had such great times in St. Louis. But
It's a great city, underrated city.
I took like a Greyhound bus one time there. Um, it was crazy. Well, the flight went into Kansas City, so the bus went. Yeah, crazy stories. But um, I listen. I love the Blues. I am so excited. I'm gonna do a lot of traveling to see them this year, just because it's. Dude, I'm fired up. I really do believe that this is a cup contending team. So call me crazy, but if they end up winning the cup this season, it's on camera. And if they don't, just ignore this. At least I'm optimistic. But Dylan, thank you so much again to everybody who is listening. Thank you. I mean, it's August 28th. We have hockey next month because it's going to be training camp, and then we're going to have preseason, and then it's bleeping regular season at Minnesota. So it's going to be a crazy, crazy, crazy couple months. We have made it, folks. We have made it through most of the off season. So on that note, like I always say to end every single episode, and you guys can say it with me back at home, let's go Blues.